a struggle to get out of your air-conditioned home. So thank you for being here today. And we also, our Asian organization today really wanted to show our love and support for the Black community. And today is a special day because it is Juneteenth, June 19th, the emancipation of slaves in 1800s, and we want to actually pay tribute to that and say, how much we love our African American brothers and sisters, and we just I'm so happy to have this event today, and also to bring light to issues in the community. And we have a whole group of we've been working very closely with a lot of victims of crime, and we thought today is a great day to also bring awareness to the community and get us all working together. So I'm really very excited to bring up Jojo. Jojo is a good friend of mine from the Sheriff Alex Villanueva's Community Advisory Council, CAC, which I'm also part of. And next week, June 26th, we're actually going to do a food drive for the community here in Long Beach. So he's going to talk more about it. But I'm very excited to bring him up, and he's going to say a few words about what CAC does and what the Sheriff's Office does, and ways for us to get involved with the community and work together and give supplies and food to the needy, and also to watch out for each other's backs on the streets. We have certain neighborhoods here in Long Beach, in the greater LA County, that we can curtail the crime by working very closely together with our community members and our neighbors and people around to watch each other's backs and make sure that we're out there to prevent crime from happening. Also, before this, I wanted to give a shout out. I know Tony has already left, but Tony Moon, we had about a dozen people here on stage just a few minutes ago, an hour ago, that did a self-defense training, and some of our victims' moms also were part of that. So thank you, Tony, and thank you, Mark, who is his partner that administered that training. So without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Jojo Afable, who is a very good friend of mine, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, this is it. I'm Jojo. I'm with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I'm one of the leader, CAC, Community Advisory Council. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay, firstly, food was really good. I like it. Thank you very much. He wants me to talk about the CAC, which is a Community Advisory Council, which is made up of regular citizens of different ethnicity. We know that Los Angeles, they said, is a melting pot. So Alex Villanueva, they have established this way back, but it was canceled, and now Alex Villanueva started to reinstate this Community Advisory Council, which are made up of regular citizens of different ethnic groups. We have Filipinos, Hispanic, Chinese, people from Bangladesh, Korean, Vietnamese, black, white, everything. You're welcome to join. This is one way your voice can be heard. We always want it to be heard. If there's an issue in your community, you want to share, you want to, hey, something has to be fixed. And this is one way that the Sheriff's Department, particularly Alex Villanueva, is trying to reach to the Los Angeles County community citizens. So this is one way that any one of you who's interested, just get hold of Mr. Ang here, and he'll be able to give you the numbers. You can actually personally call me too, and we'll help you with that. Another thing is we usually have food drives, which help out with the community. We have this just about a monthly event. We're giving out thousands of boxes of food to different communities. This would started just right because of the COVID. People are not, and some people have lost their job. Some people have a lot of crisis came about because of this COVID. So one way of helping out the community was through this food drive that we're doing. And with that said, I will again encourage you guys. And I already see Mike Ang is so involved, with community and establishing things like this. And he asked me if I can come over and talk about CAC, and which I didn't hesitate. This is a good thing. That's a good purpose, and it's covering pretty much most of the problems that we encounter every day as a regular citizen, regular resident of Los Angeles. And again, you're free to contact Mark Ang if you're interested in joining the Community Advisory Council. Well, thank you very much for coming, Mike.
Thank you so much, Jojo. Thanks for all the work you do. Jojo is one of my heroes because, doing all this community work, not many people are consistent at it. Not many people, do this, really out of their own hearts and, sustain it for long periods of time. And Jojo certainly has done that. So I'm super, super impressed with his work, and, definitely get involved and get plugged in, because I think right now what we need to understand about our world right now is very diverse, right? We're here in LA County, Orange County. We're so diverse. And what is great about what Sheriff Alex Villanueva is doing is he actually went in and said, hey, let's have different task forces for different communities, because there are needs. There are certain communities that are very, that they need to be, there need to be translations. There's cultural sensitivities. So like Jojo was saying, I'm part of the Filipino Council with him, but there's also one for Hispanics, there's one for Blacks, there's one for the Vietnamese, all these different, groups. So make sure you plug in and, share your gifts with the community. So thank you so much. I want to, give a big shout out to Blexit over there. Blexit is our current, our co-host for this. And they brought great sandwiches there, those Subway sandwiches, yum, yum, yum. So as people come in today, I'm sure those will go very quickly. So make sure you snag some. And also everyone who brought the food for the potluck, there's delicious donuts. Harriet over there, who you'll hear from in a bit, she brought a delicious potato salad. Oh my God, I had like 3 servings of that. Yum, yum, yum. And there's also George Lee right there. I want to give him a shout out. He brought some sushi. I probably ate most of it, but there's still some left, so make sure you grab some. I'm so excited to bring up the next speaker. I do want to hear from John McKinney. John McKinney is here. I think he drove quite a long ways. And proportionaljustice.com is his website, so you want to check it out. It's very interesting insights there. But John, come on up. I want you to, address the audience. And I know we have a lot of signs here with, the victims of crime. And the DA's office is not prosecuting that, as you know. So we are in support of recalling George Gascon. And thank you, John, for being here. And the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Asian Industry B2B, Blexit. I also want to thank the Recall Gascon Now group. Thank you for all your hard work, for getting out in the community and trying to collect signatures so we can address what is obviously a mistake that's been made collectively by the voters of Los Angeles County. And that's okay, mistakes happen. Nobody is to blame, especially when Mr. Gascon implemented policies and directives that he didn't run on. He's claiming that he ran on these policies and directives and such. He has a mandate to implement them, but he didn't. And we all know he didn't because we paid attention to what he said and what he didn't say. What we got on December 7th when he was sworn in, and immediately after he was sworn in, was a different agenda, a much more radical agenda, the most radical agenda masquerading as criminal justice reform in the entire country. A lot of people voted for him after a long, hard summer for all of us. They voted for him without knowing much about him, but hoping and believing that he represented change for the better. A lot of people who voted for him weren't necessarily unhappy with Jackie Lacey, but they became convinced that change was necessary, and it really didn't matter at that point who was running against her. People wanted change. We know that we had a series of events that really changed the country and changed the world, and we understand that. And it was a tough time to be an incumbent, even an incumbent who had been very competent, very proficient, very sensitive and empathetic to both victims and criminal defendants. Somebody who was trying to move the county in a more progressive direction, albeit cautiously, the way it should be done. She still fell victim to a change election. So let me talk to you a little bit about my boss, Mr. Gascon. He is the elected DA of Los Angeles County, and I respect the office of the district attorney. No matter who holds it, we have to respect the office. As such, as an employee and deputy of Mr. Gascon, I and my fellow deputy district attorneys are duty bound to try to implement his policies as best we can, so long as they're legal and so long as they're ethical. And as you all know, he has had some problems with legalities and ethics. He is in many ways being rescued by the courts, because the courts have been striking down some of his most abusive policies. Otherwise, I think the public would be even more alarmed than they already are. How do we move forward? How do we make this recall effort successful? Recalls are difficult, especially when they come in the immediate aftermath of an election, because people feel like, well, we just voted. You know, after a long, hard election, like the last election we had, you don't want to see any campaign ads anymore. You don't want to see any commercials. You don't even want to hear about it. And here we are, just eight or 9 months removed, feeling that we are in a crisis, and so we have no choice but to take the action that's been taken. But how do we get the rest of the public to understand what's happening? See, collecting signatures is only part of it. Really, before you get the signatures, before you can get the signatures, you have to educate the public about what's happening. And it's difficult because the criminal justice system isn't always intuitive, and it can be complex. And most people in LA County, even the most intelligent people, don't really understand and know how the criminal justice system functions. So they're left to rely on what they hear about it. We live in Los Angeles County, where right now our two largest newspapers, the entire Democratic Party, which is my party, by the way, almost every elected official has endorsed, stood by, or stood silent, while George Gascon has radically changed our approach to handling criminal cases. And that all redounds to his benefit, because the people who are in the best position to educate the public are not speaking up, right? So now we have to speak up. We have to educate the public. And it's not easy. It's not easy to explain to the public why it's important to allow some juveniles to be prosecuted in a criminal court. Now listen to what I said. I didn't say adult court. That's a misnomer that plays into the hands of the likes of George Gascon, because when people hear juvenile and adult, your brain automatically thinks if they're under 18, they should be here. If they're over 18, they should be there. The distinction is between a juvenile court or the juvenile system and a criminal court. You should never hear the word adult court. The reason we prosecute some 16 and 17-year-olds in a criminal court is not because we hate them. It's not because we want to punish them. It's because we recognize that our juvenile system has limitations. It wasn't designed for hardcore antisocial crimes or criminals. And a very small percentage of our 16 and 17-year-olds fall into that category. They do not belong in a system that was never designed for them, can't help them, and can't help society. When we recognize that, we go before a juvenile court judge and we ask the judge to transfer them to a criminal court where they can be better dealt with. The public needs to understand that the district attorney does not decide whether a 16 or 17-year-old is prosecuted in a juvenile court or a criminal court. A juvenile court judge makes that decision. An independent, elected, accountable judge who is a dedicated juvenile court judge who hears the cases all the time, he makes the decision or she makes that decision, not us. But you have a district attorney who has a policy of usurping that power from the juvenile court judges, because he will never put a 16 or 17-year-old, no matter what they do, in front of a juvenile court judge so the juvenile court judge can exercise his independent constitutional authority. That is a problem. That is an undermining of our criminal justice system. That is an egotistical district attorney who decides, I'm going to rig the system so that other justice partner members don't have an opportunity to do the job that the public elected them to do. That's how it should be described to the public when you explain to them the problem with what he's doing. The problem with what he's doing. And to make it concrete, you can take examples of juveniles who've committed atrocious crimes and say, hey, if that happened in LA, guess what? He's going to be out in 6 years, 7 years. Not rehabilitated, not held accountable, no justice for victims. That's the result of just one policy of District Attorney Gascon. The man came to this job untrained, inexperienced, a record of failure in San Francisco. He came to this job with the mayor of San Francisco writing an open letter to the people of Los Angeles saying, beware, don't do it. The chief of police of San Francisco wrote an open letter and said, please don't elect this man. He'll do to your city what he did to ours. He nearly lost in the primary. He's lucky Rachel Rossi was still in that primary run. Otherwise, she would have won it outright in the primary. But then George Floyd got killed by a cop in Minnesota. And that turned the world upside down. And one of the unfortunate consequences of that is we're now stuck with this man and his ideas. Now, let me offer a piece of advice to everyone. We don't need to call him names. We don't need to make it personal, because this is really about bad ideas. It's not about bad people, right? George Gascon's view of the world and his policies make perfect sense to him. As much as they don't make sense to some of us, they make perfect sense to him. Okay? You're not going to change his mind. You're not going to change the BLM supporters who stood with him yesterday, because it makes perfect sense to them that if you don't punish violent criminals, that somehow they're going to learn a lesson and be wonderful after that. Right? And it doesn't matter to them that society is, at some point, victims are going to say, well, there's no justice in the criminal justice system, so I'm going to have to handle this on my own. We don't want that. That's a real danger. It's a real possibility. There's not a whole lot holding this together except our confidence in one another, and that we buy into a system that we believe is fair to everybody. His ideas threaten that. And let me tell you something. You haven't even seen the impact of what he's doing. We won't see the impact of what he's doing for at least 4 or 5 years down the road, when people who should still be incarcerated, undergoing rehabilitation, are back out on the streets. a little bit older, a little bit bolder, and still ready to go. And I'm talking about violent crime. This notion that we're locking up people for misdemeanors and drug offenses, it's not true, ladies and gentlemen, it's not true. 80% of the people in prison right now in California are serving a sentence for serious or violent felony. And when I say serious or violent, that's by definition of the penal code, which is a very narrow definition. There are a lot of serious and violent crimes that our penal code doesn't recognize as serious and violent, okay? 80% of the population is serving a sentence right now for a serious or violent felony. 90% have at least one serious or violent felony in their background. So maybe what they did wasn't serious or violent, but they're being punished a little bit more because they just did something that was serious or violent. These are the people in prison. Don't let anybody convince you that the people in prison were randomly rounded up from the street because they were black or brown, or because they committed some minor offense, but the system is designed to punish black or brown people, so we put them in prison for virtually no reason at all. And then, of course, we know who the victims of these crimes are, right? The victims are invisible. Nobody talks about you, your loved ones. It's as if you don't matter. You know, his attitude is, I feel sorry for you, but get over it. We'll get you some counseling. I'm more concerned about this person who committed the crime. I want to heal him. So big problems. I was asked to come and talk about his impact on the office, and I don't want to dominate the mic too long. I went off on some other stuff. But, thank you. Hey, by the way, while I'm here, we have to acknowledge Juneteenth, right? June 19th, 1865, 250,000 men, women, and children held in bondage in Texas got word that they were free. Imagine that. Freedom. Imagine living your whole life as a slave, and then one day some man named Gordon Granger shows up and says, y'all are free. You know what? The president actually freed you a couple years ago on January 1st, 1863, but Texas didn't tell you. Right? And by the way, we fought a war that ended in April. They surrendered, and Texas is still holding you in freedom. Holding you in bondage. Imagine hearing that. They must have thought, oh, this can't be real. But we're celebrating the jubilation and the celebration that they had once they accepted and heard that they were free. And a lot of them got up out of Texas after that. But what a wonderful thing for our country to commemorate that. Yes. Right. And what I hope is it's not just a celebration of the end of slavery, but it's a celebration of a people who endured slavery and in many ways overcame it, which is a story of black history that isn't often told. From 1865 to 1940, the incredible gains that African Americans made in a hostile environment where the government wasn't doing a damn thing for them. And yet they still cut the illiteracy rate by more than half. They had marriage rates higher than the white population. Their children were growing up in two-family households at rates higher than the white population. This is all true. It's not true today. 7 out of 10 of our kids are growing up in single-parent households. That's a problem. You want real criminal justice reform? You got to think about societal reform. We got to think about those kids from prenatal to 8 or 9 years old, because that's when antisocial behavior and patterns start to develop. We got to get them through that period. We can't wait until they become broken and then try to fix them. I'm not saying we give up on anybody, but it's much better to prevent the break from happening in the first place. And that's really where we should be thinking. And you know where we go a long way toward doing that? Safe homes, safe schools, in safe neighborhoods. Letting dangerous people back into black and brown neighborhoods do not make the neighborhoods safe places, and it threatens to expose children to a lot of negative behavior, attitudes, and role models. We can't have that. Now, I know there are people who are well-meaning who think we just need to empty our prisons. I listened to George Gascon yesterday outside the Hall of Justice. He was out there with his friends from BLM and Father Boyle and, you know, all the usual suspects. Holly Mitchell, she came out. And he called himself a one-trick pony. He said that, quote unquote. He said, you know, I was a one-trick pony. And it was the only true thing he said during his whole 20 minutes of speaking. He is a one-trick pony, and his one trick is decarceration. Decarceration. Now you see them, now you don't, because they're back in the black and brown neighborhoods. That's right. Now you see them, now you don't. He has no real interest in meaningful reform. Reform that will bring about abiding change for people who are both on both sides of a crime, victims and perpetrators. Right? We need, our system is in constant state of reform. I mean, we get 30, 40, 50 new criminal laws every year. Things get deleted, things get added. We're constantly training and adjusting to changes in the law. But still, there are some things that we can do better. And I think he tapped into that. He just tapped into it with a lot of bad ideas that are not going to make things better for anybody. He eliminated, restructured, maybe is a better way of saying it, the hardcore gang unit. Los Angeles is the gang capital of the world. We got hundreds of gangs, hundreds of thousands of gang members. Gang crimes are on the rise. Homicides are on the rise, largely fueled by gang-related shootings. We have over 700 open gang cases that need to be prosecuted. It's at this time that he reduces the prosecutors who are trained to do this by 1/3. 1/3 fewer prosecutors to do gang crimes. And somehow that's a good policy? How is that a good policy for communities? Right? It's not. He has a parole policy. Jessica Corday is here with us today. Jessica Corday is the mother of a case that I prosecuted. Her son was beaten to death by 10 gang members in Pomona. They were literally stomped, kicked, stabbed, shot. A horrible, brutal death. We prosecuted as many people as we could. We prosecuted 10 people. 6 were convicted of murder. Others were convicted of aggravated assault. Well, for decades, the DAs from Garcetti all the way up to Jackie Lacey had a policy that DAs went to parole hearings. We go to parole hearings to represent the people. That's our job. Our job is not to go there to oppose parole. He tells people that, but that's a lie. There are a lot of times when a prosecutor can look at a case and say, oh, this guy's, he's going to get paroled. He deserves it. He served his time. He ran a good program. He's going to get out. That's fine. That's how we do it. The role of a prosecutor at a parole hearing is just to, first of all, be there for the people so there's transparency in what's going on. He is also able to tell the commissioners who are deciding the case what happened in the underlying crime. And Gascon says that's not necessary because they already know. That's a lie. They don't know. And maybe I shouldn't call it a lie because a lie assumes an intentional untruth. Maybe he just doesn't know because he has no experience. You know this man got his job without ever going to court. You know your governor, then Mayor Gavin Newsom, said, hey, George, did you get your law degree at 42? Where did you go to law school again? Okay, good enough. You passed the bar. You want to be DA of San Francisco? Can you imagine that happened? I've been a DA for 22 years. Nobody ever offered me a job like that. You know, I got 35 murder convictions. Nobody ever said to me, you want to be DA of someplace? This man never went to court. I'm telling you, he never looked at a jury. And the mayor said, here's a job, George. He became DA of San Francisco, and that's why he did such a bad job up there. But because he was DA up there, he came down here and said, I'm experienced. I was DA in San Francisco. People voted for him. He has no idea what prosecutors like me do on a day-to-day basis. No idea. And we're seeing that, and we're suffering through that. So, his gang policy is a problem. His parole hearing policy is a problem. Jessica Corday had to go to that parole hearing and basically represent herself by herself. And to prepare for it, she had to get all of the files, or she wanted to get all of the files, including the pictures of her dead son, which she had never seen before, because she wanted to be able to make that case that the killer didn't deserve parole. That's all unnecessary, because that's what our job is. That's what the taxpayers pay us for. We're trained to do that, to take that burden off of victims like you and your family members. And not only did she go to that parole hearing and have to endure that by herself, without any formal legal training, any idea like what goes on in a parole hearing. She had no access to his prison records, so she could point out things that he'd done in prison, which included beating another black man. The commissioners who heard the hearing saw no DA, knew no DA was watching, so what are they doing? One of them is eating a salad while she's testifying. They're congratulating him. They're consoling him. That wouldn't happen if a DA is in the room. People act differently when they're being watched. You know that. But that's another one of his brilliant ideas. What he thinks he gets out of that, I don't know. All it does is re-traumatize his victims. He has no sensitivity for victims. So those are some of the problems with him. The challenge for us is to educate people, to talk to them about the criminal justice system in a way that they understand the problems. Make it less personal, make it more about issues, and then you all have to have this mic, not me. I love the sheriff. I love the way he talks about these issues. He's one of the best spokesmen for these issues. But people don't want to hear it from the sheriff. They want to hear it from you. So thank you so much for allowing me this time, for listening to me. I'll be here with you if you have any questions or want to follow up on something I said or something I didn't say. I'm happy to talk to you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John. Amazing. Inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for standing for what's right, especially as a deputy DA in the LA County office, and the struggle to even just get his job done. I mean, you know, it's amazing. So, but I wanted to kind of tie this in next to, you know, one of our victims' moms, and I want to bring her up, Imelda. I know Imelda has, you know, quite a story to share with us, and you're going to hear from quite a few people that are really have had some of the crime impact them very, very directly. And, you know, I myself, you know, had my vehicle stolen in Cerritos, I think a few years ago. It's gotten worse and worse over the years, you know, and I think for black and brown communities, for all of us minorities and living in inner cities, we want better streets, safer streets, and we don't want unfortunate things to happen like what happened with Imelda, but she can share some insights with us and give us a rah-rah for our fight ahead to recall Gascon. So, Imelda, thank you so much for speaking, and we're so honored to have you here today.
Hi. As you know, my name is Imelda, and this is my son, Christian Silva. He passed away last year on February 22nd from a violent murder in Los Angeles County. And that alone is already, as we know, hard to deal with. A lot of depression, a lot of sadness. But when Gascon came into office, and I was meeting with my district attorneys, I was told that things can change in my son's case. So there's two things that we know so far about Christian's case. He was murdered by gang members, and a gun was used. So I was told by my district attorney that there was a big possibility that these allegations can be removed, and it would just be to Gascon considered a murder, like any other murder. A murder to Gascon is just whatever. He has no clue and no compassion for what parents, co-victims, because I'm a co-victim of this murder. Never did I think that I would have to be here, that I would have to be working Recall Gascon booths to get and try to get the justice that my son is going to deserve in the future. Justice must be served for all of our children who are resting in peace, our children who are going through the court system right now, and unfortunately for the children who are being murdered now every minute in the United States. So at first, when Gascon was being recalled, I was angry. I was an angry mother. But as the district attorneys said, we need to educate ourselves on all of his directives. We need to educate ourselves as to how harmful his directives are to our communities. I never thought about community. You know, I'm Latina, and I never thought about the word community until the more I come to these type of events and the more I work in the cities, I'm starting to understand how important it is for us to be together as a community to help our children. And it's not just our children who passed away, who were violently murdered. I think about the co-victims. In my son's case, Christian has 2 children, Sierra and Luke. They're 10 and 6. Little Luke doesn't know what's going on. He's happy to hold justice for dad and tell people to come and vote and sign. And then there's Sierra, who I haven't seen since April 10th, because me and the baby mama, she has something against me. She's a co-victim. It's just one murder topples generations. There's nieces who will ask one day, oh, I have an uncle who was murdered in my family. Gascon talks about all this generational effect. Well, how about our generational effect? What's going to happen to our children when they grow up, and their children who will know, in my son's case, that their grandfather was murdered? It's going to affect them. So we need to educate ourselves on Gascon's directives. We need as much support to work the tables and go into the communities and knock on doors. And we need to recall and replace Gascon with a new district attorney. Okay? So let's do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melda, for your bravery. And really, this hits the heart of our event today. You know, while I want to celebrate Juneteenth, at the same time, we ask ourselves, are we really emancipated? Are we really free when we're terrorized in our own streets and people are not getting prosecuted when they commit violent crimes? Because most of us are good people. Most of us are law-abiding citizens. But the moment these criminals get released onto the streets, guess what? A lot of them, a high percentage of them, commit these crimes again right away. And there's many documented cases of this. I wrote about it in one of my op-eds that you can see on Red State. But I want to bring up now, and I know that was very emotional, so hang in there, Melda. I want to bring up right now another victim's family member. Patricia, are you here? Where is Patricia? Hey, Emma, do you want to come up and speak? I think Patricia is yeah. And Emma, let me just give her a great introduction. Emma has been out there really kind of advocating for for our cause, and yeah, she's gonna get her sign, and she has a very emotional story as well. But Emma has been fighting, and she's a real fighter today. So her son Chris was violently murdered as well. So she will share the story now. Thank you so much, Emma. Just so appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Okay, one thing first, I want to thank God first in this journey that I'm walking with for a lot of people, not just for my son, for Imelda's son, for Jessica's son. I'm talking about future moms that are going to be out here wishing that they get justice for their murdered kids. Anyway, I remember meeting Imelda, the mom that you just met, on the petition to start the recall. The reason I joined this recall of George Cascone is due to the fact that my prosecutor also called me to tell me they were going to drop the gang enhancements. That was like a slap in the face. You're going to let a gang member not be charged as a gang member. Basically, a gang member killed my son. And that's 10 years on top of the murder charges, you guys. Just being a gang member and being caught as a gang member, that's 10 years on top of your sentence. That's another 10 years if you're a parolee with a gun. That's 20 years, you guys. When my prosecutor told me they were going to drop 20 years from the guy that murdered my son, I joined this Recall George Cascone effort. I know there's more people to keeping our sons in jail, but right now I'm focusing on the main criminal, Cascone. And let me tell you something, Cascone, if you happen to see this video later on, I did vote for your sorry ass. And you know what? I apologize to the Los Angeles County residents for my mistake for voting for this animal. I call him an animal because he has no pity at all for none of you. Cascone don't give a rat's ass for you. He don't care about you. Your safety is not important to Mr. Cascone. He can give a rat's ass if you are a victim to any crime, because he's going to give these criminals a little slap on the hand. And guess what? Mr. Cascone lives in a nice neighborhood. And let me tell you something. He don't give a damn about your safety. And I'm being very aggressive right now because I haven't even got justice for my murdered son. I've been going through trial for 5 years. 5 years, you guys, and I have not got justice for my murdered son, who was killed by a gang member. He shot two out of 3 sons. He shot 2. One survived, one died, and one witnessed a murder. And you're going to tell me that Cascone has any empathy towards me? Or any parent that loses a child, or your uncles, or nephews, or nieces? Let me tell you, Cascone's bad news, you guys. And John Mechanic just told you he's not even qualified. He's never even done a case as a lawyer, you guys, and we voted for him. I know I did, and my biggest mistake was voting for you, Mr. Cascone. And no, I do not like you, Mr. Cascone. That's why I'm on this effort. Yeah, I'm calling you out. I've been in front of your office. I asked you to come down from the 12th floor to meet a real victim, and you have denied me access. I asked you to come down to meet me. You have not given me that opportunity to talk to a real victim. But you sure have a lot of balls to make up a group of made-up victims. Anyway, you guys, I have to apologize because I did vote for that guy. And I'm first to admit that I'm on this effort to recall him, and I'm praying to God we get rid of this monster. I don't know who can be okay with somebody that's okay with criminals. I don't know, you must be some sick person to be okay with his directives. I have no words for Mr. Cascon. The only thing I can tell you, Mr. Cascon, is step the fuck down. I don't work for you, Mr. Cascon.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thanks for sharing your story. Check, yeah. And Emma, I don't know if you stress this point enough, but the fact is, if these criminals, like her son's killer, is let out in the streets earlier than he should be, or just let out, period, that's her life and her son's life in danger. You want to say a few words on that?
Yeah. I don't think it's fair that my son, who was shot by this gang member, have to live in fear. Because my son that was shot by that gang member did survive. My other son did die. So now I have to live with the fear of having my other son get killed by the guy that murdered my son. And how about my son that's an eyewitness to a murder? Has to live in fear. Because he will be let out when he reaches 50, because he did murder my son under 25. So I'm just letting you guys all know, Mr. Casco has no empathy for anyone that's a victim to any kind of crime. So if I was you, I would get more signatures out there. Get people going on recalling this monster, because he's a monster, you guys. Mr. Cascone is not qualified to be a DA. We need to get a DA that cares for the safety of Los Angeles. Just like Orange County, I admire Todd Spitzer. I'm a big fan of yours in Orange County. You're a good DA, and I believe this will be our first time we ever recall a DA in Los Angeles. Right?
That will be, yeah.
This Cascon will be the first DA ever to be recalled. Anyway, I just want to make it one more time clear. I apologize that I did vote for you, Mr. Cascon. You need to go, and I'm not going to step away from this recall until you are out.
Right. Thank you, Emma. God bless you, Emma. Yes. God bless you.
Yes, thank you, God bless.
Yeah. He was clapping too. He agreed. He agreed with your statements. And now I want to bring up a great friend, Bishop Mendez. Just came in the house, and Bishop Mendez has a very powerful story to share, just about the work he does with his ministry and with the community. And we need solutions, like we heard from Jojo earlier. We are hearing from the victims and what needs to be done, but also from other community groups like the church community. So Bishop Mendez, we're so honored to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Amen. What a great honor to be here with you this afternoon and be able to breathe fresh air. I know we were locked up for 15 months, but the one we need to lock up is Gascon. He has been very harmful to the community, and I am pledging that the hundreds and hundreds of churches in my jurisdiction will mobilize, and we will get the signatures that we need in order to get rid of this man who hates our community. Everything that he's doing is against the community. This man does not stand for what is righteous. He stands for what is evil and wicked. And we need to come against the forces of darkness in the name of Jesus. So we need to pray, but we also need to work together and in unity to bring forth the change that we need in LA County. Enough is enough. He destroyed San Francisco. He wants to destroy LA County, but we will not allow it. We will stand with the victims, and we will stand with the people who love justice and freedom. This man wants to attack the community, wants us to live in fear. He's using his office to attack the community. But we will not let him do what he wants. And I know he's running scared because he had a little rally yesterday. But he knows that his time is up. How many believe that his time is up? It is time for the people to come together and unite and we will get rid of Gascon. May the Lord bless you and prosper you. And I will be one of the foot soldiers out there, and I pledge the radio stations and the TV stations in my jurisdiction to broadcast this message all over Southern California. God bless you. Thank you very much.
I gotta do that. All right. Thank you, Bishop Mendez. Now I want to bring up Jessica. Jessica is another mom that has a story to share. I'm sorry this mic goes in and out, but Jessica. I think she's on her way up. There she is. And Jessica is Marquise's mom, and what a story. And Marquion. Yep. I talked to Jessica at length on the phone a few days ago, and her story is just so powerful. And thank you so much for being here. Her sons were victims of hate crime, of a real hate crime. So I want you to share, and I love your mask, by the way. So thank you for being here.
Okay, first of all, I'm a parent. I ain't really a politician, so I'm gonna be talking about my babies. Gascon, how he affected it, but the most important thing to me is I'm a mom. Amen. So I'm here because if I don't fight like a mom, ain't nobody else gonna do it for me. At the end of the day, my son was brutally murdered April the 17th, 2009 for being the only black at a party. He showed up at a party, he went with his white friend and he had a Latino friend. He found the party on MySpace and they showed up at the party and he was the only black, and a gang called the Mexican Tinto Killers. They beat him up at the party, they surrounded him on the dance floor, they brutally beat him, then they chased him 100 yards. They rendered him unconscious with a 2x4. He had blunt force trauma to the head. He had made multiple fatal stab wounds, multiple non-fatal stab wounds, a gunshot wound to the head. They robbed him, disrobed him, and stole his shoes. We got 10 convictions. We originally had 14 arrests. It was 14 to 20 of them that murdered my son. We ended up getting 10 convictions. All of them were under the age of 26. Every single one of them were under the age of 26, which that means to the state of California that they're more important than my murdered son. You don't get to tell me how valuable my son is. Yes. I don't care who you are, what title the world gave you, because at the end of the day, God is all power. And if he gave me my son, he gave me a journey and he gave me a purpose. And I'm not going to sit up here and let the state of California, because I would drag everybody in the state of California over my kid. Because at the end of the day, when you tell me that his murderers can be set free because they were under the age of 26, my son was 18. He don't get parole. He's locked in that casket forever. But George Gascon, he is a problem, but he has a team. He has a system. It's not just him. If we just keep focusing on George Gascon, the Jennifer Shapers and the Deborah San Juans and everybody else that they have intricately planted in the system to release all of these black and brown criminals into the black and brown community. They're not releasing them because they care about the black and brown people. They know that they're going to come out and re-victimize more black and brown people. Why are there no halfway houses in Malibu? There's no halfway houses in Calabasas. There's no halfway houses in Newport. There's no halfway houses in Naples. And that's strategic. They know exactly what they're doing. But at the end of the day, you don't get to place the value on my murdered kids. Those are my kids. So when I had to sit up there and go to parole process by myself, they didn't allow the district attorney's office to go with me. We got all these people that murdered my son. How in the hell am I going to know the role they played in his murder unless I pull his murder file? Now I'm pulling the murder file, studying my son's case, and I seen the murder pictures that I had never seen before. So at the end of the day, now I got to play the prosecutor's role in the parole process. But it didn't even matter, because they already had their mind made up. He was under the age of 26. And if we don't start looking at the big picture, we're going to be here every fucking week. Right. Yeah. It's a system. And when you start taking out Gascon, you got to make it be a domino effect. Yeah. Jennifer Schaefer, Deborah San Juan. At the end of the day, they don't care about our kids. They told me to my face that they did not feel like my son's killers should be punished. They should be rehabilitated. And I told them to their face You don't get to tell me nothing about mine. And I'm going to fight like a mom until I don't have to. And the only way I ain't going to have to is they do their job. It's called a justice system. That means that justice is a system that's supposed to work for us, not for the criminals.
Thank you.
But every time I go before somebody that has a little status, because I ain't going to say they have power, because God is all power. They got status, they got titles, they got positions, but God is good. Because I fought my ass off for 3.5 months. I made it to the governor's office and they reversed the parole decision. And my son's killer will not get out of prison. But that should not have been my fight by myself.
No.
It should have been a justice system fighting for me, and I should have had a community rallying around me the way they do George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We got George Floyd's right here in the neighborhood. We got Breonna Taylor's right here in the neighborhood. But they'll sit out there and pour into the streets for everybody else, but they'll watch me fight by myself. But that's okay, I'm enough. That's my son. That's my son. That's my son. Then I have another son that was murdered April the 2nd, 2012, on his 24th birthday, on my first day of murder trial for my other son. So what do California want me to do? Fight all my life?
Yeah.
They keep coming up for parole. They keep coming up. There are 11 people charged with my kids' murders. And every time I look up, somebody wants out of jail. But until George Gascon came, nobody wasn't looking at me. They weren't thinking about my kid. So when they try to use my pain for their political gain, I shut them down. That's my son. If you want to talk about George Gascon, you're going to have to talk about Marquise LeBlanc.
Yes.
You ain't going to just talk about George Gascon without talking about my baby, because I'm going to show you my back and keep it pushing. I ain't here to play games. I'm here to apply pressure. The state of California needs pressure applied. There are laws and policies and directives in place that we don't even know about, that sometimes we even sign up for. They're going to release all these people. If I wouldn't have never showed up at that parole process, I wouldn't have known how the system really works. It's not just George Gascon. It's a whole system. And if we don't stand up and we don't start to fight collectively, we're going to be doing this over and over and over and over again. Our kids are victims. They are victims, not the offenders. And like I said, I would drag the whole state of California and everybody in it like a search and rescue team on the Mississippi River. You're not going to just murder my kid and I'm going to just watch you walk out the gates. It's not going to happen. But I can't do it by myself. This is a community, and the community has to stick together. There's no way that we should have to only come when somebody is murdered. We should be fighting the system, period. Because at the end of the day, like I said, there's no halfway houses in Calabasas. There's none in Naples. There's none in Newport Beach. They don't care about our kids. They got their kids tucked away, safe. They don't got to go to school with these killers. They don't got to go to Walmart and meet the killers. They don't got to see them at the gas station. Those are only our kids that get stuck in the system, and they watch them re-victimize us over and over. George Gascon is demonic. But he has an agenda. And in order for the agenda to come to fruition, he has to have a team and a system. And if we don't be just as powerful as their system, we're going to do this every other fucking month. We're going to have to do it. Nobody wants to fight until it's their kid. Well, at the end of the day, you get in by choice, or you're going to get in by force. Because sooner or later, some kind of way, the victim is going to come to your door. You're going to have to experience something that we've experienced. There's no way that mothers should have to come here and cry out for justice. Justice should be given to us. I shouldn't have to go after justice. Justice should have to come after me. George Gascon, Jennifer Schaefer, Deborah San Juan, I'm with you. I'm coming for you. And I'm going to do it in a way that the same way you did it to me, the same way you re-victimized my son, the same way you told me that my son's life mattered nothing. You don't get to tell me the value of my murdered kid. You don't get to tell me the value of my broken heart. You don't get to tell me the value of my kid's siblings. You don't get to place the value on us. You're not qualified to do it. And if we don't come together and be as strong as we are hurt, eventually we're going to lose out. It's a system, and we need to figure out who is planted in the system and come for every single one of them. My other son's name was Marquise Taylor, and Marquise LeBlanc was the one murdered by all those racists. And at the end of the day, I'm a mother. That's my son. I don't have a choice but to fight. But I don't want to fight by myself.
We're here with you. We're here.
Thank you, everybody. I love my kids. I'm going to fight like a mom until I don't have to. And if anybody needs me, I'm only a phone call away. Amen, girl.
God bless you. Thank you. And now I want to bring up Sandra and her family. Sandra's also got a very special story to share, and we can't have any more of these unnecessary deaths and violence that affect us in the Black and brown community. So I really want to hear from Sandra and her story and her family. Thank you for your bravery for coming up today and to speak about your loss.
Sandra. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I hear from my brother Randy. Well, like the woman before said, that you don't really think about it until it's you that's there. And it's sad but true. And now that I'm here, you just have to get it out. You have to get the word out. Like how everybody.
Okay.
All right, just take a break.
Okay. So my brother Randy Martinez was taken from us January 26, 2019. He had just turned 21. He was 21 for not even 2 weeks. That day, it was supposed to be this huge birthday party for my grandma because, it was time. She never had anything like that. And we had family coming from out of town, everywhere, miles away. And it's sad because they were all there, but they all came for the wrong reason.
Speak into the mic, please. Yeah, sorry.
They all came for the wrong reason. He had hundreds of people at his deathbed. And for what? Because cowards. And this wasn't the only victim. He had multiple victims that they can charge him for. And others that they couldn't charge him for because they didn't have the appropriate evidence, to convict or to even try to convict on. I mean, I can't get into the details because I could just go on it forever, but it happened. I don't know, my brain's just going on because it's all coming back to me now. This whole Gascon thing is just one spoke on the wheel of everything that's wrong. It's everything, it's right here. Look right there, you see critical race theory. It's police brutality. It's so many other factors. And that spoke on the wheel is broken. And with Gascon, it's not a spoke that's going to keep this wheel from going forward the way we need to go to evolve, to get to where we should be at as a community. It's keeping the community broken. So I'm just sorry. I'm thinking a million things and I can't say it all at once. So it happened 2 years on. We're going back and forth in the courts. They make plea bargains. They do this, they do that. They they fire their district attorney or their lawyer because they feel like they're not properly represented because, they're still breathing air, they're still here, but they have their rights. They said it before, the woman that was up here before. He's not, her sons are no longer here. My brother's no longer here. All our victims are no longer here with us. All they are is memories to us. That's it. And things like this help keep that memory alive so they don't die in vain. But okay, so just to touch on this Gascon topic. So we go to the court hearing, and then we're told that we could speak because that certain charges are trying to be dropped. That they're lessening sentence because rehabilitation. You know, criminals have rights and they need to be rehabilitated. But what about an eye for an eye? They still get to go outside and see the beautiful sunlight, feel the wind hit their face, you know? Like, I don't know, but so we're told that we get to speak to the judge to try to convince the court as to why the charges shouldn't be dropped. And unfortunately, I don't know, maybe our points were valid and the judge took it to heart, or maybe just the judge had a heart and the judge said no, all the charges are going to stick. But why would we have to do it? You have, you know, the outcome, and the outcome is a life that's no longer here. And there's certain factors that played into that life no longer being here. So how are you going to have outcome without all the steps in place that made the outcome happen? There are certain degrees, you know, like, and I guess that's a good thing. Sometimes they are accidents. Maybe somebody just ran a red light because they looked down at their phone and, you know, something happened. That's an accident. But when somebody stalks an individual, when they team up on somebody and beat the hell out of them so they're gone, you know, like, they made their choice. And this is a society. And in that society, they don't belong, you know? I don't know. I just want to thank everybody for being here. I didn't think that just the people being here would be heartfelt and help comfort, but it does. And I just thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you. Thank you for your bravery, guys. Thank you so much. And now I want to bring up Patricia, who is Alexis's mom. And I want to bring Emma up. You know, she is so brave. And originally she said, "Oh, I don't want to speak." But now, you know, I think her story is important for everyone to hear. And then we have a very exciting speaker after her. So I won't even tease it. But you know, thank you so much, Patricia, for sharing today and in memory of Alexis. And I know your family's here in the audience, and they are so grateful that you're going to talk about your loss and share that with our audience today. So much. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Patty, and my daughter Alexis was murdered in 2007. She was only 18. I'm sorry, 18. She was shot and killed in the city of Compton. There was 3 arrests made in her murder. 2 have been sentenced, and I have the main shooter being sentenced this Thursday on the 24th. My heart goes out to the moms that have not had justice, and, you know, just hang in there. My daughter was
You're gonna make me cry too. Oh my goodness.
very brave, strong. She loved baseball and softball, and she left many family members behind and friends that miss her very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's hard. Patricia, I know it's hard. This is a journey. If nobody knows what it's like to have a child murdered cowardly by somebody else, you cannot identify with our feelings. We're all mothers to violent crimes. Our children were murdered, you guys, murdered. We're not up here because we want to. We're up here because we were put in this journey by another person that decided to kill our children. If you could look at us, none of us are gang related. None of us mothers up here have any gang practices or anything, but they're being lenient towards criminals, you guys. We are hardworking parents. We wanted our children to get married, have children. Alexis, Patricia's daughter was only 18, you guys, and she was murdered. 18 years old. Imelda's son was murdered. He was 28. Araceli would be next speaking, and she's going to speak on a different topic, you guys. She's a grandma, and she don't know where her granddaughter is at. And Patricia, she's up here. This is her first time speaking and she's very nervous. I'm sorry, huh? You did good. Your daughter would smile at you. Anyway, you guys, thank you. I'm going to pass the mic to Marquez, and he's going to introduce your next victim.
Araceli will be up right after that, okay? Thank you so much, ladies. I want to bring up Harriet Reed. Harriet is a good friend of mine and also my fellow co-chair on the Recall Gascon Now campaign. On top of that, Harriet has been such a powerful voice in kind of making us all stop to think about what it means to be in the community, what it means to actually grapple with these issues that affect us. And in the cases of the victims, sometimes unintentionally affect us. But for the entire community, it does leave an impact. All these moms that lost their children also have, like they said, it's a ripple effect. It goes out to the whole community. And Harriet has some really strong insights, and she is a powerful voice, and I am honored to have her come up and speak. Harriet, my sister in Christ, my great friend, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you all for being here, and mostly for all the people who have to retell their stories over and over again. It breaks my heart to have to hear these mothers who have lost their children have to plead over and over again with Gascon and with the rest of the people who are responsible for locking up these criminals. They have to keep asking over and over again for them to do their jobs. It's very distressing. Juneteenth today is one of those days that we celebrate because there's many people who didn't know that they had been emancipated from slavery. And then they found out a couple years later. But one of the things that we need to remember about Juneteenth is that it is a holiday that we need to be grateful for all those people who fought in the Civil War to free those slaves. We didn't do that alone. And neither can these victims achieve any kind of relief from what they've been through alone. We all have to be a community and come together and help each other. That's how we ended slavery. One of the things that Gascon tries to say to us, he wants social justice. Do you know what that is? That's critical race theory. He's trying to apply an ideology to these victims of crime. He's trying to tell you that because these criminals are black or brown, that they deserve to be released from prison, or that they shouldn't go to prison at all. Who do you think those criminals are preying upon? When you let them out of jail, who do you think, what community do you think they're going to go to? Are they going to go to behind the gated communities? Are they going to go to these multi-million-dollar homes and wreak havoc there? That's not what happens. What happens are the same people who got victimized get re-victimized. That's what happens. And we have to start being honest about this. Gascon has teamed up with BLM. Can you believe it?
I believe it.
He has teamed up with BLM, and BLM believes in destroying our family, our nuclear families. That's what they want to do. So they want to further disrupt and destroy all minority communities. Not just minority, they want to destroy all communities. They want to reimagine our American society. That's not what we're looking to do. That's not what we voted for. What we need to do is we need for all people to understand that we are all equal under God, and we are all equal under the law. And every one of us deserves justice. Everyone. It's not a black or white issue. This is completely nonpartisan. Has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. Everybody has the same goals in life: to feel safe in their community, to be able to raise their families, to be able to provide for their families. And Gascon is trying to convince us that somehow we are unable to do this because of a systemically racist society. Even if he believes that, letting all the criminals out isn't going to help that. Even if he believes that, if he wants to let loose all the criminals or not prosecute them, BLM, what have they done for us? What have they given any of these victims? How have they contributed to our community or to our society? Nobody. They didn't do anything. They burned, looted, and murdered all summer. That's what they did. They caused billions of dollars of damage all over America. Billions with a B. But yet and still, Gascon teams up with them. Gascon believes he's buying what they're selling. But we should not buy it. We don't want BLM. We don't want any parts of BLM. BLM does not represent us. They have not contributed anything to our community. And they don't seek to change anything in a positive manner. They don't even believe in the nuclear family. We all know that is the problem that many minority families have. We don't want to tell the truth about the fact that if you don't want to be poor, then you graduate high school, you put off having children until you're married, and you work hard and persevere. You will get there. My parents, along with the rest of my family, was born in Birmingham, Alabama. People try to make it seem as though because my parents were part of the Jim Crow South, that they would never be successful. That's what Gascon's telling you. The system is systemically racist. It's all a lie. Look around you. We had a black president. How did that happen? Who voted for him? White people, right? So why are you using this to pit us against each other? Don't use this to pit us against each other. We can be a community. It matters not your race. It matters not your religion. It matters not your ethnicity. None of it matters. Who cares? Have you seen how many biracial babies we have in America? That tells you everything you need to know. So we don't need George Gascon's social justice. Reject it. Please reject it. My parents were able to come here and be successful. If they could do it, why can't the rest of us do that? Give all of us the opportunity, the same opportunity, and we want you to prosecute all criminals, all of them equally. Every single one. Matters not their race, their ethnicity, or their religion. It matters not your excuse. Stay in jail and repent there. It is not the place of George Gascon to become king. Who made him king? Who made him king to decide which laws he's going to promote and which laws he's going to throw aside? That's not his job. Maybe it's a Newsom syndrome. I don't know. But he's got to stop. Because we want him to prosecute criminals, all of them, for every crime that they've done. And let's quit mixing all of the races into this. Let's not make this a race matter. It's not a race matter. Your community is not safe because of criminals. And when you get rid of the criminals, it makes your community safer. It matters not the color, right? So we need to get rid of Gascon. We need to stop letting people use black people as a reason, or any other minority for that reason, but stop using us as a reason for whatever harebrained scheme you want to pull next. Don't use us to say we can't have voter ID because black people can't find their way to the DMV. Don't use minorities to say we can't prosecute criminals because they didn't get a fair shake. I don't care what kind of shake they get. Once you're a criminal, you made a choice. And those choices are individuals because we all have free will. Here today, we can celebrate the fact that Juneteenth is a holiday, but I don't appreciate celebrating. So we need to quit letting people push these thoughts on us, this ideology, this false teaching. We need to quit letting people push this on us and stand up for what's right. Stand up for what you know is right. Stand with your community. And let's all work together to get a safer community by prosecuting crime as it occurs. Let's get rid of the tent cities. All of these things, you know what they do? They just continue to promote more crime. Because if you allow the tent city, and then you allow the urination and the defecation in public, and then you allow the petty theft, then it just graduates these petty criminals into career criminals. That's all it does. It doesn't make them stop and say, maybe I should figure out a better way to live. That's not what it does. So we need Gascon to adhere to the laws on the books. If he doesn't like the laws, then he should work to change the laws. He should get a different career and work to change those laws. This is not how we do it. You don't burn, loot, and murder to get your way. We all have to obey the law and live in a society together. And the only way that we can do that is if we all follow the law. So let's get rid of Gascon. Let's get him gone. And let's stand up for our community to be safe just like every other community in America. It doesn't mean that just because you live in a certain place that you have to live a certain way. Every community should be a safe community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wasn't that amazing, guys? Harriet always impresses me. And let me just, before I bring up, actually, let me bring up Araceli right now. I know Araceli's got a really important message to share with us, and she is a grandma, I believe, and she has, she has on her shirt, you can see her family member that she lost, Ruby. And there's justice for Ruby right here, I think. There it is.
Where is Ruby?
Yep. Where is Ruby Alvarado? Where is she? Here you go. Here's your mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow. My daughter
This is my granddaughter Ruby Alvarado. She's 7 years old. It's been about 2 months that we don't know where my granddaughter is. I've reported it to DCFS, Minors Council, and I am not getting the help, guys. That is why I'm out here. Her father, 8 years ago, Ando Alvarado, was part of my daughter Zyla Aguirre's rape. Orlando put my daughter in a room to be raped by multiple men 8 years ago. Now, it's me fighting the system with my granddaughter because we don't know where she is. My granddaughter was taken out of the country last year with the excuse of the pandemic. She was taken to Tijuana. I have no family members in Tijuana. I told my daughter, something's not right. Why are you not being allowed to see your child? My daughter got a hold of the sister, Susana Alvarado, or Susana got a hold of my daughter, stating that if she wanted to see her daughter, she would have to cross the border to see her daughter. My daughter, Zyla, took the Greyhound to Tijuana with no address, with no family members to help us on that side. Somehow my daughter got Ruby across the border back to LA. And she said, Mom, Susana says that you could see Ruby, but you would have to come to LA to pick her up. And I did. I was so anxious to see Ruby because I knew something wasn't right. I brought her back to Bakersfield, California with me and my husband. Ruby started opening up, saying that her father, I don't know if he was using the tablet or a phone, and was not allowing her to talk to my daughter Zyla. A few days passed and I was calling Minors Council, letting them know why was Ruby Alvarado in Bakersfield, California? Where is the father? Why was she taken out of the country without my daughter known or anybody known? It's hard, guys. It's hard. My granddaughter started opening, and the few days that she was in Bakersfield, she didn't have her eye prescription glasses. So I was more worried. I wasn't even thinking of anything else, just to try to feed her because I know she wasn't being fed right. Ruby said, Grandma, my Aunt Susana Alvarado wasn't being nice to me. I said, why are you saying that? Because I didn't even have a toy to play with, or I didn't even have clothes that I could change. So that's when I took the initiative of asking her, Ruby, were you able to open up the refrigerator when you were hungry and grab something? She said no. So I was letting Minors Council know everything that Ruby was letting me know. So if the secretary related that information to him or not, I don't know. But I called him. It was almost 15 days that she was in Bakersfield, guys. We were in the kitchen. She was sitting next to her younger sibling, Juliet. Her tone of voice changed, guys. She said, Grandma, I have something to tell you, but I'm very scared. That caught my attention, guys. Really caught my attention. Something made me grab my phone, and I said, I need to record this. What I thought was that somebody probably had touched my granddaughter when she said that she was scared. What happened was that she said that she couldn't feel her legs nor her arms. She said that she felt that she was dying. What would make a 7-year-old say that? That she couldn't feel her legs nor her arms, and that she felt that she was dying. Guys, as soon as she told me that, I was able to record it. I put it on YouTube and I put it on my Facebook so the world could hear this. I let DCFS know. I call law enforcement. And I didn't see any help for Ruby. I didn't see any help for my granddaughter. I need your help, guys. I thought I could do this alone, but I can't do it. I need an army. I need the patriots out there. I can't do this alone. We don't know where she is. I've hired investigator after investigator. I should not have to be doing DCFS job. Why am I doing their job? Something is wrong for a child to say, I can't feel my legs nor my arms. I feel that I'm dying.
Oh my God.
Why? When the cops came to my house and they took Ruby, Ruby said, Grandma, can I please take your peanut butter jar? Why would a child say that? Unless it's self-defense mechanism. Because she didn't know if she was going to be fed. Am I right, guys? Or am I wrong? I can't do it. I need your help, guys, to find my granddaughter and better get her back to safe haven, my house. Thank you, guys.
Sally. Thank you. And that concludes our victim segment for today. And you heard for so many stories. It's real. It impacts our communities. Please do something about it. Be part of the solution. And part of the solution, really, I wanted to say a few words and bring up my good friend Crystal up on stage as well. As the Asian community, for us, we have grappled with racism. And I have to say, when we threw this event today, Juneteenth, for our minority community, I got so much blowback for this. So much blowback from all sides of the political spectrum saying, oh, you should not do this, you should not play into victimhood. No, we do have real issues. We have real victims today. We need to talk about our communities, and we also have a solution. The solution is pride in who we are, but also the desire to connect and to be with people different from us. And that is what makes us get over these differences and come to a working community. And Crystal is one of those people that I'm so proud to know and work with, because she is another community organizer like myself, throws these great events and brings people of all races together. Look at this beautiful sea of color today that we have, celebrating Juneteenth, celebrating our black brothers and sisters. We love everyone of every color, and Crystal lives that, and she's got a few words for us.
Hi everybody. It's so good to see you. I think we do not need to have a Juneteenth to come together to celebrate. We celebrate life every day. But this is a holiday we need to be proud of. Although I'm a Chinese, but I know the history of America. You have already heard many times what today is all about. It's about the end of slavery. As I was saying, for us Chinese, we do have slavery too. In those times, remember San Francisco gold mine up north here in California? Remember the Chinese, they were the one who laid the railroads. But that is history. We remember that. We learn from history. But let me ask one question. How many of you here, regardless whether you're white, black, Asian, Chinese, how many of you here are oppressed? Oppressed that you have nothing. Poverty. Hey, we still have food stamp. I was doing the homeless ministry, and I asked them, how many of you are oppressed here? I know oppressions. I know I was chasing after girls that are being to be sold in Thailand. So how many of you here are being oppressed? I asked them. When you're oppressed, you have no food stamp. This is America we are living in. We learn from history, but let us not to have the victimhood. I'm a victim mentality. I am not a victim. If anybody want to say, stop Asian hate, I'm Asian here, I'm Chinese. But I don't feel any hate. I have friends who are come from all backgrounds, and I call them friends. I work in activities like this. I have all friends that come together. So do we want to champion ourselves as who we are and proud of who we are? Or we are to mask ourselves and say, oh, you know, I'm Chinese, you're so mean. Don't talk to me like that lah. You want to eat some fried rice? So you see, we be who we are. And then we come together as a community. And we help each other. Perhaps I have something that from my background I can help you. You can help each other. We live together happily together. As I was sharing with Mark, I'm from Singapore. And in Singapore we grow up, I think that's how we come, our background. We grew up together. I have Muslim friends. I have friends from India. I have European friends, Chinese. We speak different dialects, Hokkien, Cantonese, Teochew. We come together and we are always together, growing up in the same school, eat at the same place, and we never differentiate that who you are. You are Muslim, you sit there. You are Indian, you sit here. You are Chinese, you sit there. No, we are cohesive, building up together of one human race. We can be of different background, but we are of one human race. Right? God made us in the image of Himself. So you and I, we are made in the image of God. And there should not be no segregation and no discrimination. So Juneteenth today, yes, we celebrate with our brothers and sisters whose ancestors were enslaved once upon a time. Today we celebrate knowing that there's no longer slavery in America. There is no more slavery, and we celebrate that. And I want to thank you and just consider this, that we are together for one purpose: to love one another, to encourage one another, and to help each other.
Amazing, Crystal. Thank you so much. And pretty much we're going to close this up now, but I wanted to bring my co-sponsors for this event, Blexit, the wonderful people from Blexit. Nate, you hear me, Nate? Nate, hello, Nate. Come on up. I want to bring you guys up. And you know, is Carl there as well? And Barbie? Yeah, Carl, Barbie, come on up. Okay, I just gotta say, these three of my great friends that, you know, brought these amazing Subway sandwiches. I think we all gorged on them today. Thank you so much. Before they come up though, I want to give a big shout out to Banded Future right there. They brought so much waters and shades and swag. I don't know, I hope you saved one set for me, okay? Because I still haven't gotten mine, but thank you so much for being here. And they're a great hip-hop band. I listen to their music, watch their awesome videos. So you gotta check it out on YouTube, and I believe if you just do a search for them on Google like I did, you found them. So they're called Banded Future, okay? And Barbie, I'm just gonna give the floor to you, because thank you, Blexit, for being our friends, our partners, for getting arrested with us back at the Walnut Family Fair. Yeah, that's another story. You can Google that on the Google News. But thank you, Barbie. We love you.
Hello everyone, my name is Barbie George and I am the State Director of Blexit, California. Thank you very much. So Blexit, California, if you know anything about Blexit, originally it was the black exit from liberal ideology, but now it is so much more. And we have expanded to a community outreach organization, and we are a 501c3, so we're nonpartisan, though we know we lean one way a little more than the other. And we champion school choice, law enforcement reform, but positive law enforcement reform.
Right here, I think. There it is. Yeah. Where is Ruby Alvarado? Where is she? There you go. Here's your mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow. My daughter, this is my granddaughter, Ruby Alvarado. She's 7 years old.
It's been about 2 months that we don't know where my granddaughter is. I reported it to DCFS, Minors Council, and I am not getting the help, guys. That is why I'm out here. Her father, 8 years ago, Orlando Alvarado, was part of my daughter Zyla Aguirre's rape. Orlando put my daughter in a room to be raped by multiple men 8 years ago. Now, it's me fighting the system with my granddaughter because we don't know where she is. My granddaughter was taken out of the country last year with the excuse of the pandemic. She was taken to Tijuana. I have no family members in Tijuana. I told my daughter, something's not right. Why are you not being allowed to see your child? My daughter got a hold of the sister, Susana Alvarado, or Susana got a hold of my daughter, stating that if she wanted to see her daughter, she would have to cross the border to see her daughter. My daughter, Zyla, took the Greyhound to Tijuana with no address, with no family members to help us on that side. Somehow my daughter got Ruby across the border back to LA. And she said, Mom, Susana says that you could see Ruby, but you would have to come to LA to pick her up. And I did. I was so anxious to see Ruby because I knew something wasn't right. I brought her back to Bakersfield, California with me and my husband. Ruby started opening up, saying that her father, I don't know if he was using the tablet or a phone, and was not allowing her to talk to my daughter Zyla. A few days passed and I was calling Minors Council, letting them know why was Ruby Alvarado in Bakersfield, California? Where is the father? Why was she taken out of the country without my daughter known or anybody known? It's hard, guys. It's hard. My granddaughter started opening the few days that she was in Bakersfield. She didn't have her eye prescription glasses. So I was more worried. I wasn't even thinking of anything else, just to try to feed her because I know she wasn't being fed right. Ruby said, Grandma, my Aunt Susana Alvarado it wasn't being nice to me. I said, why are you saying that? Because I didn't even have a toy to play with, or I didn't even have clothes that I could change. So that's when I took the initiative of asking her, Ruby, were you able to open up the refrigerator when you were hungry and grab something? She said no. So I was letting Minors Council know everything that Ruby was letting me know. So if the secretary related that information to him or not, I don't know. But I called him. It was almost 15 days that she was in Bakersfield, guys. We were in the kitchen. She was sitting next to her younger sibling, Juliet. Her tone of voice changed, guys. She said, Grandma, I have something to tell you, but I'm very scared. That caught my attention, guys. Really caught my attention. Something made me grab my phone, and I said, I need to record this. What I thought was that somebody probably had touched my granddaughter when she said that she was scared. What happened was that she said that she couldn't feel her legs nor her arms. She said that she felt that she was dying. What would make a 7-year-old say that? That she couldn't feel her legs nor her arms, and that she felt that she was dying. Guys, as soon as she told me that, I was able to record it. I put it on YouTube and I put it on my Facebook so the world could hear this. I let DCFS know. I called law enforcement, and I didn't see any help for Ruby. I didn't see any help from my granddaughter. I need your help, guys. I thought I could do this alone, but I can't do it. I need an army. I need the patriots out there. I can't do this alone.
We're gonna find Ruby.
We don't know where she is. I've hired investigator after investigator. I should not have to be doing DCFS job. Why am I doing their job? Something is wrong for a child to say, I can't feel my legs nor my arms. I feel that I'm dying.
Oh my God.
Why? When the cops came to my house and they took Ruby, Ruby said, Grandma, can I please take your peanut butter jar? Why would a child say that? Unless it's self-defense mechanism. Because she didn't know if she was going to be fed. Am I right, guys? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right, Araceli.
I can't do it. I need your help, guys, to find my granddaughter and get her back to safe haven, my house. Thank you, guys.